And everything under the sun is in tune, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon. Some Pink Floyd lyrics there to start us off here on this hour on Weather Nation. The annular eclipse was today, and you could see the shadow of the moon crossing across the American Southwest.
That is just so cool. Every time I look at this video, it just gives me such a sense of awe.
I really enjoyed getting to see at least the partial eclipse here in the Denver area.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed not making that 6.5-hour drive to Albuquerque.
Yeah, but it probably would have been so worth it.
It definitely would have been. Hopefully, if you saw it, you got to enjoy it. Didn't have any clouds in the way. When I went to the 2017 total eclipse, there were a lot of clouds during the partial initially, and then finally cleared out right at totality.
So cool. And here in the Denver area, we saw a little bit less sun than that, but here are just some views from across the country, viewer photos. So thank you so much for submitting these of all of the different locations. San Antonio, Texas, you can see that ring of fire. So cool.
And it's really an interesting thing because like the reason that we have this ring of fire effect is we just had a supermoon, a closer moon in its orbit. It's an elliptical oval shape. So sometimes it's a little closer, then we get the bigger moon. But then on the other side of the orbit, when we have the new moon, it's much smaller than usual, so it doesn't completely cover up the disk of the sun.
Yeah, so that's why we get the ring of fire versus a total eclipse, which is what you saw in 2017, and what will happen next year. We'll see that complete totality with the moon covering the
And
entire.
of course, we'll have all of that coverage coming up in April next year.
We're so lucky that we get, in North America at least, the chance for 2 eclipses depending on where you live. You know, hopefully you're within driving distance and you can maybe make the next one.
Yeah, and that's going to be coming from around South Texas all the way up through the Great Lakes. So I'm sure a lot of people are eagerly waiting it.
Yep, so we'll continue to show all of your pictures, and hopefully you're just excited talking about all of the celestial events as we are.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that there's a little bit of sun or moon in front of the sun today. It was still on the warm side of things. Not quite as warm as we had on Friday, though. We did have records set in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Daytona Beach, tying the old record there. So up to 95 degrees in Miami on Friday. Here's a look at some of the observed highs we had today. Upper 80s, so not as hot yesterday, but it's not as much to do with the moon shading a little bit. It was more just from the high pressure that brought some of that heat has begun to push back towards the west, and that kept some clear skies out across Texas, so that's some good news there. Sunday, we're also looking at highs in the upper 80s for Miami and Key West. Cape Coral, Melbourne, you're looking in the mid 80s. Then you get farther north, we've got 70s in Tallahassee, Daytona Beach, Jacksonville, even Savannah and Mobile. We've got 70s on the way for you. Heat index still going to feel close to the triple digits for Miami. Maybe not quite there, but 98 for the heat index in Key West and Miami. Cape Coral, heat index of 90 degrees for you. A cold front is on the way. It'll start to feel more like fall out across Florida. It's October, so we start to see some of these cold fronts making its way to the southeast. But this is actually diving pretty far south, all the way through the Keys, in fact. So that's going to be some nice mild temperatures coming, even into some of the northern Bahamas. We could see maybe more mild temperatures on the way. It's not bringing with it much moisture. There's not a ton of moisture to work with out ahead of it either. So it's going to be mostly dry, but we might see a stray sprinkle or two. Not going to amount to much. There goes that high pressure ridge. Down comes the low pressure trough. That's going to bring in the cooler air over the next couple of days. And take a look at some of these 3-day forecasts. Tampa averages 86. We're in the low 70s in the next couple of days, even upper 70s for Miami. Then you get up to Charleston in the 60s, a little chilly for you. Atlanta in the 50s on Monday. So at first, fall shock to the system really coming through. That's going to help all those leaves as well getting changed over. And then some of the low temperatures also going to be in the 50s throughout the southeast.